Hey, what's happening, folks? Chip Mitchell coming back at you with another edition of Enjoy the Ride. What do we have today? Well, today I thought I'd talk about those that are out there trying to make a decision. Should I buy a two-wheel or should I buy a three-wheel? Now, I thought I'd tell you my experience and tell you why I bought what I bought. But hey, listen, let's get to it. Hey, how you doing? Chip Mitchell back at you with another edition of Enjoy the Ride. How you doing? You know, today I thought I'd just take a moment to sit and chat with you for those that are out there trying to figure out which direction should I go. Should I get a three-wheel motorcycle or should I get a two-wheel? And I thought, you know, hey, let me share my experiences with you. Obviously, I've had my three-wheel Riker for a little over 6 months now, and it's been an absolute fantastic experience. If you want to know more about it, please like and subscribe. I've got a ton of videos up just telling you about my journey on the Riker, and maybe that might be able to help you out with the three-wheel and its capabilities. So, you know, what do you do when you're trying to figure out which is best for you? You know, I think there's a few things to really consider when you're looking to buy either a three-wheel or a two-wheel. You know, my experience is, you know, age, style, cost, and safety. I think those are the factors that, you know, I'm going to use to talk about it. You know, many moons ago, when I was a teenager, a young kid, I rode two-wheel dirt bikes and trail bikes. So I had a limited experience on two wheels and had a fantastic time growing up here in Philadelphia riding two wheels, and I had a blast. And once I got my driver's license and, you know, got on the road, I was done. I was enamored with the cars, and my family bought me some really cool cars when I was a young kid. So I was caught up in the four-wheel cars and had a great time and got away from riding two wheels. Went off to college, did the whole college thing, and I remember I got my first job out of college, and I put up on my cubicle a Fat Boy Harley Davidson. That was kind of like what I was going to work towards. I was going to get me a Harley, a Fat Boy, and man, I was, you know, cranking it out in sales, doing a great job. And then, you know, you get married, and soon after that we had kids, and I was kind of like, oh man, you know, having babies, young kids, I didn't want to put myself in a situation where I got a two-wheel and wind up hurting myself or you know, dying in an accident. So I stopped that dream of riding a two-wheel, and it was only because of, you know, safety issues. I know there's a ton of folks out there that do it anyway. They don't, you know, obviously safety is of the utmost importance to all of us, but some people, they mitigate that very well, and they do it. But I just didn't feel comfortable doing it at the time. And so, you know, fast forward 25 years later, I'm in a different position, and I'm like, okay, you know, my kids are much older now. They're grown folks. I think now's the time to get a motorcycle. And honestly, when I started thinking about it, I was like, man, well, geez, I haven't ridden in so long. What do you do? And this is my first point. You know, so if you're considering a two-wheel or a three-wheel, you know, this age factor, you know, for me, it's a big deal. My reflexes and who I was when I was a young guy, my reflexes are not the same at this age and stage of life. And at 56, to jump back out there and get on a two-wheel motorcycle, you know, I didn't think, I was like, I don't know, because you know, street riding versus trail and dirt bike riding are very different. And the learning curve at this age of my life is pretty steep on a two-wheel versus a three-wheel. You know, a lot of times, you know, you may be at a stage in your life where, you know, you're on the back half of the book, and you know, getting on a two-wheel for the first time, or in maybe 25 years, you know, there's some things you got to learn. If it's your first time, you know, the stick and clutch and braking system on a two-wheel bike versus a three-wheel are very different. You know, and at a certain age, you know, teaching an old dog new tricks, you know, you got to think that through. I'm not saying that it's incapable. I mean, for me, the stick and clutch is very simple for me. It's not a complicated thing. You know, my muscle memory is still there. It's pretty easy to do. But when you're out in the street riding and braking on a two-wheel with a stick and clutch is very different than on a Riker in particular. You know, the braking on a two-wheel, you know, that front wheel and rear, you've really got to work that together to maximize your stopping distance. And you've got to think that through. And a lot of that is, you know, where are you? In the highway, residential area, city streets, you know, where are you? Back roads, they're all different. Gravel versus non-gravel, paved roads, all those things have to be factored in. And you've got to think that. And a lot of that is just experience. You know, when you've done it so many times, what do they say, 10,000 times before you become an expert at it. You know, so much experience is needed to really mitigate that well. Whereas on a three-wheel, in particular with a Riker, all of that is computerized. And the Riker takes care of that. You don't have a stick and clutch. It's all automated. You know, the ABS system, the braking system on the two-wheel is very different than the braking system on this three-wheel. This one, all three are connected to one brake. It's a pedal brake. And it's all ABS, and it mitigates whether you're on gravel or pave. You know, on a two-wheel, sometimes, you know, because the challenges we face on a two-wheel and a three-wheel as far as pedestrian and traffic are the same. You know, intersections are the greatest risks, and a lot of times what happens is people will pull out in an intersection because they didn't see us on a motorcycle. And on a two-wheel, how you brake and stop is very different than how you brake and stop here. And in some cases on a two-wheel, you got to lay that bike down to avoid an accident. And with a three-wheel, obviously you're not laying it down, but the braking system is so phenomenal that you've got an advantage on this. And you know, at a latter age, you know, your reflexes just aren't the same. And so you got to think that through. I'm not saying that it's impossible or you shouldn't do it. Just know that the learning curve on that two-wheel is much higher. So if you're in an environment where you can ride all year long, you get more practice, right? But if you're in an environment, say you're in New England, you know, the bottom line, you got 11 weeks of summer, then the cold is coming, man. And, you know, sometimes people don't like riding in the cold or snow and ice. And, you know, whereas in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, you know, we've got a longer period, but we do have winter. So you got to know that with regards to your age. I think the other thing is that, you know, if you've never ridden a two-wheel and you're in my age, I'm 56, you know, and you want to start doing that, you can do it. But I would just caution to take your time. Take your time with regards to the bike choice. You know, a lot of times you go, man, I'd love a Harley, and it's just not wise to go out and buy your dream Harley, and this is the first time you're getting going, or you haven't ridden in 20, 30 years, and now you want to go out and get this dream Harley. I don't think that's the best judgment. I think start up with something much smaller, a great training two-wheel bike, take your time, learn on it, and then upgrade. But again, you know, a lot of times when you're older, you want it now. You want it now. You don't want to wait. But I think you can. Whereas with a three-wheel, you know, you can jump right on into this because of its ability to mitigate some of the challenges that you face when you're getting on there, whether it be a first time or hadn't ridden in a long time. So I think through your age, where are you in life, and what's the best use of the time you have, and can you learn? The learning curve on this, is there one? Yeah, there's a learning curve. A lot of the learning curve is understanding the road, understanding what's out there in the road and the dangers that are out there, and whether or not you can manage that. Where, if you go on a two-wheel, the learning curve is, you still got to learn what's out there and the hazards are there, but you're also learning stitching, clutch, and braking. That's a big deal. The other thing that you have to realize with regards to a three-wheel versus the two at your age and stage is turning. Turning on the roads is very different on the two-wheel than on this. They're not the same at all. Leaning and doing those kinds of things with a two-wheel is very different here. You don't lean to turn here. You turn and lean here so you don't fall off the bike depending on the speed that you're going. Whereas in a two-wheel, you lean to turn. And that takes some getting used to, learning how to go into a curve, how to go in and come out of a curve, understanding the natural hazards that are there, the speed and mitigating all of that. Again, all of that, it just takes time and learning. Whereas on this one, the learning curve on that is much shorter. A much shorter learning curve. And some may say, well, I'll get the three-wheel to learn to upgrade to the two-wheel. Again, the ride experience is very different. I don't think that's the way. Now, you could obviously just say, well, I want to start out here mitigating the traffic and things that are out there, and then I'll go to a two-wheel. Yeah, you can do that. But I think understand that there's a difference, a big difference. And our age is one that plays a big factor in how we do that. So just know that. Style. Let's talk about style. Well, what is the thing? So this style is just like, it's incredible. I mean, the style of the three-wheel is amazing. And in particular with the Riker, I tell people all the time, it's Batman. It's a Batmobile, and people love it. Wherever you go, people are like, what is that? Tell me about it. Where'd you get it? How much does it cost? The style of this and the two-wheel, there's just two different styles. I love this style more so because it's new, right? It's kind of the new thing. It's out there. It's like, whoa, what is that? Where people have seen two-wheel bikes forever, and they're all pretty cool in their own self. But the style on this is amazing. Now, there's some two wheels out there like the cruiser bikes that I really like, the Honda. Yeah, that Honda is awesome. I love that Honda. That Rebel is amazing. The 1100, they have an automatic, they have a stick and clutch version. They've got many different versions of it, or a few different versions. I really like it. The style is really cool. And, you can look at that and go, man, it's a toss-up. How do I choose between that two-wheel style versus this style, the cruising style of the two-wheel? I mean, it's pretty awesome. It is wow. Now, I will say that on the style of many two-wheelers, you're more standing up, kind of. You're more in an upright, whereas on the Riker, you're kind of in a lounge chair, your feet are forward, more of a cruising type posturing, which I like. On a, if you're up more, know that, it's a different ride, it's a different feel and posturing, and so you've got to ask yourself, which one do you like more? For me, I definitely like this one more, with like the kind of the lounge chair, got my feet forward. I really enjoy that. I kind of feel that more. Now, there are bikes, obviously, that give you that same ability. But, depending on what you want to do cost-wise, that changes it. So just know that. But the style, you got to ask yourself the question, what are you looking for in style and its ability, its flexibility for what you're going to be using the bike for? if you're doing, if you want to get a bike and you're looking for long distance, riding, you want to cruise America up and down the East Coast, I don't think the Riker is the bike for you. Now, you can upgrade to the Spider and the 3 wheels. The Spiders, those things are made to go cross country, and they're awesome, similar to the old Gold Wing and things of that nature. Different in some ways, but similar in its ability for long distance. The cruising bikes and the Rikers, they're kind of all in that same distance category, because you can get saddlebags for these just as well as you can get saddlebags for the cruisers and so forth. So it's kind of there. But the question is, what style are you looking for? What is the look that you desire? For me, the Riker gave me that kind of cool look, but then it also had that aggressive sport bike look with it because of the way it was designed. And so I like that. I didn't want a sport bike. If you want a sport bike versus a 3-wheel, that style totally different, because what you're going to get out of a sport bike, you're not going to get out of the 3-wheelers. You're just not going to get it. And you got to, really understand, this is not a sport bike. It looks as cool as a sport bike, and that's where sometimes it can be somewhat deceiving. It looks as cool as a sport bike, but it's not a sport bike. These sport bikes are extremely fast. I mean, these things are fast, and they go, man, and it's a whole different riding experience. Whereas this, yeah, it's quick, it's nimble. I would say, 0 to 40, this thing is really fast in the city. It does amazing in the city, but it's not a sport bike. And if you're one who really likes speed, you're really into that, that's your style, that's what you like, this is not going to give you that. Just know that. Is it fast? Yeah, it's fast. I mean, I think it'll go 104, 105 miles an hour. I haven't gone that fast. I'm not into speed. But it will go that fast. But 0 to 100, there's no comparison between this and a sport bike. So, you can sit there and you kind of go, man, I don't know which one I want. But if you really want speed, generally the 2-wheelers are going to give you way more speed than what you're going to get on a Riker. They just are. Is the Riker slow? No, it's not slow at all. But there's no comparison on that style. I think the other thing is, what are you going to use it for? If you're commuting to work, a 2-wheel and a 3-wheel, they both do very well. Obviously, this is a little much wider than what you would see on a 2-wheel, so you got to think through, where are you, what city streets are you going on. This can handle all of that. The parking situation, that's always a big deal. Figuring that out, this is an attention grabber. The style, if you don't like attention, do not get the Riker. Do not, everywhere you go, people are going to want to talk to you. They're going to ask questions. I've seen dogs even stop in the middle of their walk to see, what in the world is that? Kids, young and old, I've seen folks, they all want it. So this style is a real attention grabber. If you don't want attention, do not get this thing, because you're going to become a sanguine really quick, But style is something you got to really consider. The other thing that I think about with the style is the gear that you're going to wear. When you got a 2-wheel, the safety gear that you wear for a 2-wheel, really, say for instance, when you're laying down a bike, a 2-wheel, when it comes to this from here down, that's where a lot of injuries occur. And so, are you going to wear safety gear to protect yourself once you lay that bike down? Generally, the bike is going to get laid down at some point. It is. That's what's going to happen. And so the style of clothing that you would wear to protect yourself from that is very different than this. You're not going to lay this bike down. It's just not going to happen. That doesn't mean you won't crash or someone crash into you, but you're not going to lay this one down. So your dress style will be different on a 2-wheel, I believe, from a safety standpoint. But if safety doesn't If that's not something you're worried about, then it won't matter. But generally, you want something that comes up above the ankle that gives you the ankle protection so you don't crush your ankle or foot, and you need that foot protection. And a lot of that is because of laying that bike down. That's not going to happen here. Which leads me to my third one. My third one is safety. You know, hands down, the three-wheel bike is, with the two wheels up front in the Riker situation, is much safer generally than a two-wheel. Well, how is it safer? Well, road surfaces. If you're on a dirt road or gravel road, what you can do with this versus a two-wheel, can't even compare it. Can't even compare it. A two-wheel cannot hang with what the Riker can do on gravel roads or a paved road that has gravel in it. This thing has a computer system that really protects you from winding up hurting yourself because of road surfaces. You know, if you're riding on a curve and there's gravel on the two-wheel and you happen to be leaning on that, you're going down. You are going down. Other thing, when you're going around curves, I've seen this with the Riker in particular. You're going around curves, and in Philadelphia, there's potholes, there's bumps in the roads, and sometimes when you're going on a curve and you're doing 40 miles an hour, 50 miles an hour, and there's a bump or there's a pothole and you happen to hit it, you can feel this bike take over to keep you from turning over. Whereas on a two-wheel, you know, you really got to know what you're doing to protect yourself from going down on a curve when you hit a bump. This thing is really safe in that regard. Neither of them keep you safer from folks hitting you. If people don't see you, they don't see you. I will say this though. With the lighting system, because you've got the two front lights on the tire along with the two in the headlights, that gives you that triangle as you're driving down the road. You are more likely to be seen on this than you are on a two-wheel, just because of the natural where our mental place goes with that. So from a safety standpoint, I tell you, the three-wheel is safer with some of the natural systems that it has that a two-wheel does not have. It doesn't mean that you're safe from other drivers on the road. No, doesn't mean that. The road hazards that are out there from other drivers are real. And whether you're riding a three-wheel or a two-wheel, they are real. But there are some things. The braking system on here is so much more safer than what you get on a two-wheel. Now, there are some braking systems on some of the really high-end two-wheel bikes that are really phenomenal, on curves in particular. But, you know, you're talking a real large chunk of change, which we'll get to price in a minute. But you don't have to worry about laying this bike down at a stop sign. Oil, you don't have to worry about putting your feet down when you stop and slipping and sliding. You don't have to worry about that on a three-wheel, whereas in a two-wheel, you do. It's just so much safer. The braking system on here and the distance to stop from 0 to 60 is absolutely outstanding. Outstanding. And, you know, you're not going to get that as good with a two-wheel unless you are an excellent rider of two wheels and understand the braking and how to best do that. But again, that takes time, that takes energy, that takes practice, whereas in this, the computer takes care of it for you. And so it offers an opportunity of shortening that learning curve because of the computer system that's in the three-wheel. Does that mean that a three-wheel is better than a two-wheel? I don't think so, not at all. I think it's like comparing apples and oranges. But this is definitely safer. Now, driving through windy roads and so forth, is it safer? Well, that's depending on your speed. You can still go off the road just as easy as you go off the road on a two-wheel. Is the two-wheel a different riding experience on those windy roads? Absolutely. If you're looking to lean into curves and really just feel that and just whoa with the bike, this is not going to give you that. If that is important to you, more important than most things, this is not going to give you that. But going through curves and windy roads, is it fun? For me, it's been absolutely outstanding, but it's not a two-wheel motorcycle ride. Is it safer? Yes, because it does mitigate that going too fast to turn over or something like that. But it doesn't stop you from taking a curve too fast and going off the curve into a tree or a guide rail. It doesn't stop you from doing that. So, but is it safer with regards to the road surfaces and how you're riding it? Absolutely. Is it safer with regards to its braking system and how it manages it? Absolutely it is. Does it keep you from folks not seeing you on the road? No, neither one of them do. You know, there are a number of things you can do on both a two-wheel and a three-wheel to mitigate that so that people do see you. Yes, they are the same. I tell you that because, you know, people don't pay attention to motorcycle riders, whether you're a two-wheel rider or a three-wheel rider. Last one, price. You know, hey, you can spend as much or as little as you want to get in the game. I tell you that. You know, for $8,400 you get in the game with a Riker, but you can go out there and get a bike for $3,300. You can get a entry-level sport bike or something like that. You know, it all depends on what you want. For me, the pricing was about you know, low cost but high on safety. You know, those were the two things that were super important to me. The costs and high on safety. Those were two that really played into my decision on why I chose the Riker. Now, you know, I'll ride this for a number of years. Would I just consider going to a two-wheel? Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, I'm having such a blast on the three-wheel that, you know, that's really not reasonable for me right now. But the cost, you've got to decide how much you want to spend. Now, if you want to do a cruiser, you know, a lot of those bikes are right there in line with this. You know, you can go from the entry-level Riker to a $14,000 Riker, or you can upgrade to a Spider and you get into your $30,000 range, which is very different. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for an East Coast rider or coast-to-coast rider. That price is way out of what I'm considering. But you can do the same thing with two wheels. You can go from as little as you can get a little scooter, and then you can go all the way up to, you know, $30,000 bike, depending on what you're trying to do. So you know, it's out there. The Rikers, are they higher on average? I think they are when you think about what you can get in a two-wheel. Yes, they are. But what they bring to the table was of great value for me. And so I was like, you know, safety and a lower cost, they really were two key factors for me, and that's why I chose the Riker. You know, so at the end of the day, what is it? This is all, you know, it's subjective. This choice between a two-wheel and a three-wheel is totally subjective. You got to decide what's your value system, what really floats your boat. How do I, you know, when I finish riding in a given day, what am I looking for that experience to have been like? And that's going to drive your decision. I'm just telling you, here's where I was. Here are the things that I see. And again, my perspective is subjective, but I'm just giving you my experience, and I hope that what I've shared helps you to decide what you're looking for, whether two or three. But at the end of the day, what do we want? We just want to enjoy the ride. My name's Chip Mitchell. Hey, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe. Click that bell, and anytime I put something out, you'll be notified. But when it's all said and done, hey, have an excellent day and enjoy the ride. Thanks.